Hey everybody, it's May 4th, 2021, and this is the time of year some strange things start to happen. It's STAR testing. It's also contract time for teachers, and so it's pretty common to get on YouTube or Instagram or any of these other places where people share this stuff, and people talk about why they are quitting the teaching profession. So I thought I'd do something a little different. I thought I would tell people why I am not quitting the teaching profession and why I have signed my contract for this upcoming year. Now, the reality is my students aren't any different than anybody else's. I've got some great students. I've got wonderful kids, and I've got kids who struggle at home. I've got kids who seem to have it together every single day, and then I have kids that seem to be lucky to get there with their heads attached to their shoulders. I have kids that come from houses with enough money to feed them every single day and to clothe them properly. And I have kids who are wearing the same clothes that they wore 2 years ago and 3 years ago, and they needed to be replaced then. So in terms of what my kids look like, my kids don't look any different than most other people. And I don't want anything that I say to be construed for those teachers who have chosen to leave the profession. They're making the choice that is right for them, and don't make me believe that I am saying anything negative about those individuals. They have to do what is best for themselves and for their families, and sometimes that means having to leave where you've been working for 9 months or sometimes longer, and go somewhere else. And I totally understand that, accept it. But for me, I'm going to tell you why. Okay. A few years ago, I had a student. She was looking at becoming a teacher, and she came back, and she had been in my class for 3 consecutive years, chemistry, physics, and then she was my teaching assistant for a year, and did a lot of grading and lab setup and stuff like this. And she wanted to be an English teacher and a chemistry teacher. And so she came to me and she asked me, it was after school, and she interviewed me about why I got into the profession and some things like this. And I took her down, and where I was working at the high school, there was an intersection. It's a T intersection like this, and there was always a really bad echo there. Now, there's no other students in the room, and I took and I slammed my foot as hard as I could onto the ground. And I asked her, what did she hear? And she said, I hear the echoes. And I said, that's exactly right, because when you teach, what you do in class will echo throughout those students' lives. And it's easy to say, well, that's why I'm staying in the profession and people aren't. But that's not true. The people who are leaving the profession, they understand that too. I'm staying in the profession largely because I have so much support that I can do this. When I stand in front of my classroom, I know that my principal and my superintendent have my back. How do I know this? Well, number one, if I have a problem, I can go and talk to them. I can go in there and I can say, I'm having problems with this student. Give me some counsel, give me some advice. Who do I talk to try to make this situation better? I have the materials that I need in my class. Sometimes they may look a little different. You know, I don't have massive amounts of chemistry. I don't have a big chemistry lab. I teach in a school that plays 6-man football. Money is always tight. But I always have the money I need because the administration has made providing materials a priority for the students. Discipline in my school is handled. And while I may not agree with the best way to do it, whether they get lunch detention or a stern looking at or a out of school suspension or anything like that, it's still being done. Something is being done, and sometimes something is better than nothing, because when you have a student that is so disruptive that they disrupt the entire class, you need, for the benefit of the other students, you need an administration that's going to step up and go, I'll help you with this problem. And what's more is I'm not going to blame you for this problem. I have the freedom to go to professional development. I have the freedom to take time from my class and talk about current events. There have been some big ones lately. I don't have to be so tied to what is going to be happening on a STAR test or some other end of course exam that I don't have time to talk about things when my students come in and say, Mr. Presley, I don't understand what is happening. What does this mean? I saw this on Instagram, or I saw this wherever it is that they get their news from. I heard people talking about this down at the restaurant where they go and eat. What does that mean? And so I don't have an administration that's going to come in. They want lesson plans done, but they're going to come in and go, oh, you're not talking about, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory today, and your lesson plan says you're supposed to be talking about that. Instead, you're coming in and you're talking about the Fukushima disaster and what that really means and how that's going to affect the people in Japan and maybe beyond. I have a good administration that I trust. And what's more is I feel like they trust me. When they walk in the room, they trust that I know my stuff. I teach chemistry, I teach history, I teach physics, I hope to teach astronomy. I teach a lot of different subjects, but they're mostly the science and social sciences categories. But they don't come in and second guess me, and they don't assume that, well, if you would just put them on this, use this particular book, or use this particular computer program, that everything that they can buy will do a better job than you can. Instead, they allow me to teach the way that I feel that I can teach best. Because as much as we talk about things like learning styles or how a student is best able to access that information, we sometimes forget that teachers have to be able to access that information and relay that information as well. And so we all have a comfort, kind of a butter zone, if you will. And my administration allows me to do that. They don't try to micromanage me. So as a result, when I get up and I come to school, I'm genuinely happy to be here. And for those teachers who aren't genuinely happy to be at work, I'm sorry. I won the lottery when it came to jobs, I think, in districts perhaps. But I make this video not for teachers. I make this video in the hopes that maybe an administrator will see it, because they can make all the difference. I have watched good teachers walk out the door in places that I've worked because they didn't have the support they needed to be the most successful that they can be. Because when the teacher is successful, that means the students are successful. And when the teacher is happy to be there, the students are much more likely to be accepting and maybe even joyful that they're in school. When the teacher is respected by administration, then they are much more likely to be respected by the students. If you want good teachers to stay, you have to treat them good. You have to allow them to be the professionals that they are. You have to allow them to be the human beings that they are. Hey, maybe I got lucky. I don't know. But either way, I know that I've already signed my contract. In fact, I was anxious to get my contract because, not that I was worried about not having a job, I wanted to sign it. And when I got my contract, I opened it up, I read it, because I don't believe in ever signing anything you don't read first. I read it, I signed it, and I gave it back to him 15 minutes later. That's why I'm not leaving the profession this year. So anyway, for what it's worth, have a great evening. Bye.